Yeah, when I was growing up in Switzerland, my world was full of grain. I saw grain fields, as I was running, training for ski racing. Along the sidewalks, I saw spelt, emmer, einkorn. I'm here to stay with my grains, but I'm no longer in Switzerland now. I'm part of this wonderful movement building the Colorado grain chain. Yeah, the Colorado grain chain was really a response to a certain lack of grain diversity. We have quinoa, millets, lots of wheat, but there's not a lot of diversity. We were also interested in seeing if we could inspire farmers, especially small to medium-sized farmers, to begin to grow grain. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn on how to grow these grains in a farming system, and especially when you think about harvesting and methods to have the cleaning on the farm, methods to get them to the mill quickly, storage. So the literacy really goes along the entire grain chain, starts from farming all the way up to the eater.
Well, at the Rocky Mountain Farmers Union Cooperative Development Center, we're always on the lookout for interesting projects that involve people that are trying to take advantage of interesting opportunities or solve problems, particularly in rural areas. Farmers Union membership base has always been on the eastern plains of Colorado, and many of those folks were traditionally grain farmers, dryland grain farmers. And so when I first began working with NANA, I became interested in the potential of these heritage and ancient grain varieties, particularly in the context of conventional farming and these folks trying something new.
The Colorado grain chain starts with farming, but it ends with the consumer. And so whenever we are trying to build more production, build a system, a grain an alternative grain system, we also want consumers to be part of it.
Thank you.
These grains are drought hardy. They are important in ecological practices on the farm. We want to also highlight the importance of building soil and building soil quality. Grain and legumes are common in regenerative agricultural systems. And once we build soil, we also know that less and less fertilizer is needed in the soil that's added, and less chemicals are needed.
The grain is not so much about the profitability of it. Unless you're dealing with larger acreages, it's a just modestly profitable or break-even prospect. So to me, the services of grain are more in the ecological arena and also in the community and cultural arena. And so these things matter to most farmers, community on one hand and ecology on the other hand.
And we shouldn't forget, the cultural aspect of these treasures here. When you look around the world, these grains have been around for millennia. And they have lots of story. They have a memory. These seeds have memory. They are highly nutritious, but when they are being grown and particularly passed on and exchanged in community, there's something that nobody can really take away. It's something very special. It's food that has had many hands.
Switching back over to the community and the cultural side, it has just been such a rich development of relationships, and being able to stop in Del Norte when we're driving through and have a beer with our friends that are getting the malt from the San Luis Valley and from San Luis Valley grown grain Stopping over in Norwood with Blue Grouse Bakery, Moxie in Boulder, there's just a proliferation of grain-based businesses, and there's a richness in there, and a real shared culture that's starting to develop around some of these varieties.
We're also calling on the consumer to take a little bit more time perhaps to find local food. And local grain has been dropped a little bit, has been left out. It's coming now into the farmers markets, and it's becoming part of the local food scene. The food system per se becomes more known from a consumer's perspective, more deeply known. And so from producer to consumer, there's a connection. And that's also celebrated in a loaf of bread or a tortilla. Grain chains are about community building, and I think we knew that going into this grain movement. We knew that we couldn't do it alone. We knew that we had to come together as a community and build and rebuild something what industrial agriculture actually wiped out. Community brings happiness, it brings health, it brings also a certain prosperity back to these environments. So come join us at coloradograinchain.com if you are a farmer, if you're a miller, baker, maltster, brewer, or chef. We'd love to hear from you. If you eat grains, eat Colorado-grown grains. If you're a consumer, join us, coloradograinchain.com. We want to provide you with more knowledge, more skills, and a network of various farmers and bakers and bakeries and breweries that use Colorado-grown grain.